Hello out there, Caniac Nation. Thanks for joining us live for session 46. I'm Griff.
And I'm AB.
And everybody, it's rumor season, right? This is, it's some people's favorite time of the year. It's not really my favorite time of the year, but it's an exciting time of year. Some years more so than others. But this season, it's kind of hectic and it's kind of unknown. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to spread some rumors even more, discuss them, dive into them, talk about some news around the team, some news around the NHL that affects the team, and answer your questions. And we may bring in a guest here, a familiar guest here in just a little bit as well. So before we get going, first things first, we're brought to you by DraftKings as a member of THPN. That's the Hockey Podcast Network. Use promo code THPN when you sign up for DraftKings to score some bonus bets, and we'll tell you more about that a little bit later. Here at Caniac Sessions, we are also promotional partners with SeatGeek. First-time ticket purchasers can create a SeatGeek account and use promo code Caniac Sessions when you do so, and you can get $20 off your first ticket purchase. Take advantage of that. It helps you, it helps us, and it helps SeatGeek. All right, AB, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Just got off of work, so I'm in a crunch. But the grind doesn't stop, and it is rumor season, like you said. So a lot of good rumors to dive into and stir the pot a little.
Some of them might be credible, and some of them might not be. Some of them might be nothing. I mean, we don't know.
That's the good thing about rumors.
I know. Yeah, you just you start them, you spread them, and see what happens. So everybody that's been following us a while know that AB is a NC State fan. I believe we have some NC State news, don't we, AB?
Oh, we do.
And for those that follow UNC, they have some similar news. What's your thoughts about this this NCAA baseball tournament that's been going on?
I'm excited.
Yeah, NC State's going to Omaha.
Yep, for the fourth time ever in their whole school history for baseball. It's been a really good year to be a State fan. I never thought I'd see the day. I mean, 2 Final Fours, ACC championship, and now you have a team going to the College World Series. And I saw this too. I mean, obviously UNC, but whatever. Virginia, Florida State, and then NC State. So this is the first time, I think, in the College World Series that only ACC and SEC teams are in the tournament themselves. I think the last time was like in the 40s.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm very excited. I'm ready for everything to get going. I don't like the Carolinas in there because you are obviously a West Virginia fan. And
yeah, well, I'm a WVU fan. Had a great run. So I won't say the first, but our head coach, this was his last season. The team put together a great tournament to try to, see him off the right way. Played the Tar Heels real close, came up short, but, both games were real close. Had a chance to come back and win in game 2, but came up just short. It is what it is. If we have to lose somebody to somebody, I guess it's fine if it's a North Carolina team, whether it be State or UNC. But that excludes Duke, by the way.
Yeah, Duke didn't make it.
They didn't make it to Super Regionals anyway. But it's been an entertaining tournament so far. I'm looking forward to Omaha, and I'm gonna have to jump on the NC State bandwagon again. I was on that bandwagon through the NC the basketball tournament, so now I just have to jump on again.
Welcome back with open arms.
Well, I'll jump off at football season, so
that's fine.
Yeah. All right. So back to hockey.
Yep.
The Cup final, right? So we forget as Canes fans that the Cup final is going on, right? We don't really care much. Well, I don't really care much about what's going on in the Cup final. I care about what's coming in the next, 3 weeks. But it is going on, right?
Mhm.
Florida is up 2-0 on Edmonton as they shift to Game 3 in Edmonton. That game will be Thursday night. They're
Mhm.
giving 2 days for travel each time they switch. So it's going to be a long, drawn-out final if it goes the distance. What's your thoughts so far on the Cup final, AB?
Well, first of all, Buddy texted me. I told him, I think earlier this year, that the Oilers wouldn't make the Cup. And wow, they have had a very impressive run, because I'll be honest, I didn't expect them to be in the spot that they are. Because if we look at the first part of the season, I mean, they fired their coach. I mean, they had a negative record, then they just went on a tear. Uh, Florida's Florida. Sergei Bobrovsky in the playoffs is Sergei Bobrovsky. I mean, he's seems like he's unstoppable. But game 3, Panthers. Game 2, Panthers. I, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt for the Oilers, but I think this may just be only 5 or 6 games, because
Well,
I mean they've proven, unless they get some good luck from. We're not going to talk about that, but if you know, if you know,
if you know, you know.
if you know, you know, if you know, you know.
Yeah, I predicted Florida to win the Cup. I think it was session 45 or 44. Whenever we did the joint session with Caniac Report and Brandon from the Warning Take, who's going to join us in just a minute.
Yes.
Bring him in just a minute. But I believe I was the only one that picked Florida to win the Cup. No big deal. And a little flex on you there. But I believe I said Florida in what I said. I don't remember if I said 5 or 6, but I think I said 5 because I thought Florida would win it at home. So I still believe that. I believe Edmonton will get one of the next 2 in Edmonton. But ultimately, I think they split in Edmonton and Florida comes back and wins it in Game 5. That
I feel like I picked Florida.
You didn't. Well, you picked Dallas and Florida in the final, but you picked Dallas
That's
over Florida.
right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dallas.
Yeah, I kept receipts
Thanks, Dallas.
because I was the only one that picked Florida.
Yeah.
No big deal. All right, we'll go on from that. But anyway, I just think that I don't think these two teams are close. I think Florida's so deep. Edmonton's
Right.
very, very good, obviously at the top, better than anybody else in the NHL at the top.
Mhm.
But you saw it last night. I mean, Rodriguez came through clutch, scoring 2 goals in key moments. Scored the go-ahead goal to make it 2-1, and then I believe it was he also scored the goal to go up 2 goals to make it 3-1.
Mhm.
So great game by him, and that just shows you their depth. I think Florida is the more physical team. But you saw in Game 1, Edmonton kind of, gave him the Canes experience, received the Canes experience, right? Kind of controlled play, deserved really to kind of win that game, based upon chance wise. I don't know if I still think that Florida outplayed him as far as physicality.
100%.
But if you look at, full body of work, it should have been closer than it was. And, but I think that just shows you Florida's just the better team. And
Yep.
I expect them to prevail and win the series, win the Cup.
I think it's the goaltending part that's where it's kind of uneven.
Bob he's turned back the clock. He's, just like last year. Well, of course one could say at this point that it's just Bob is just being Bob. I mean, 2 years in a row now, he's kind of, performed. I still think he might've been a little bit better last year, but you can't complain with the product that he's giving you right now.
Yeah.
So, but hey, one more take we want to get on this final. We're going to bring in Brandon from the Warning Take. If you remember, if you watched us in session 45, our first live stream, we brought him in from the penalty box, fresh off the ice. Today, that's not the case. He's served his sentence and he's back in the house. So we'll bring him in. Here we come, Brandon, for the morning take.
There he
What's
is.
up, buddy?
The jury is still out on whether I'm going to be allowed back in the rink or not.
Right on.
So far, I'm not even allowed in the snack bar. But that was because I ate all the cheese curds and everybody else was mad. There was none left for them.
Yeah,
Good Lord.
I'd be mad too.
Yeah, I got the last order of them and I gloated about it.
Oh, okay.
So let's get your take on this cup final. I assume you've been paying attention.
To one of it I could and everything like that. The goaltending matchup is definitely about as lopsided as I expected it to be. Now, I have to give Stuart Skinner some credit. I did not expect him to be someone who played a significant role. He wasn't the only reason, obviously, but he wasn't stealing games outright, but he was making timely saves all throughout the playoffs, particularly the last series, and he has played a significant role in the Edmonton Oilers being in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Mm-hmm.
Never in a million years, though, did I think he would remotely hold up to Bobrovsky, and so far he hasn't. But he's definitely taken a step from where everyone thought he would be at this point.
Yeah, he's I think it was it the Dallas series or the Colorado series where did
I think it was Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Edmonton play Colorado, did they play Colorado?
No, they didn't.
It was
No.
their second round matchup. I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
It's been so long ago.
God, it's on the tip of my
been
tongue. Vancouver. They played Vancouver.
That's right.
That's right. I don't remember which series it was, but he was pulled, wasn't he, for Pickard or Picard or however you say that guy's name?
Yeah, Calvin Pickard played 2
Yeah.
games.
Yeah, that's right. He did. And ever since then, Skinner has been solid. But he's not Bob. So
No. I mean, we saw last season what Bobrovsky can do. He stole that series.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Florida also has the depth advantage,
Yeah.
by a lot. It's not even close when you're talking up and down the lineup. Florida's defense is better, whether you're talking about the roster that you have on the blue line or the team defense aspect of things. A lot of the things that we saw them employ against Carolina last season, they've employed against Edmonton to a
Mhm.
great degree of success.
Mhm.
And that's with me not really sitting down and watching the games. I've had to go back and look at some stuff retroactively about it. But even when you're just watching condensed games, reading what other people are saying about it, seeing clips from it and everything, you can still get the idea. Florida is playing to their strengths, physicality, speed, using their depth, and getting the goaltending they need. At this point, I don't see any way possible, unless Connor McDavid goes and gets to another gear that we all know that he can and takes over one game, then takes over another, and Draisaitl does the same thing. I don't see any way that they turn the tide of this series.
No. I don't know if you could hear us when you were in the background here, but I thought that you could. Okay. I think it's over in 5. I think Florida's going to, I think they will split. I think Edmonton will figure out how to win one.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that be because they rise up and get it or because Florida just has a bad game.
Mhm.
But we'll see. It should be interesting to watch it play out. But I just think it's Florida's year.
Mhm.
And good for Paul Maurice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good
He's
for
been
Stevie
waiting
Lawrence.
a long time.
But everybody else on that team can go fly a kite.
Yes, I agree. Especially if
my
your name
tongue.
is Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah.
God, I wish we'd gotten him.
He's so good, man. He's so
He would have
good.
fit with us perfectly. The way that
Power
he plays.
forward.
Let's not dwell on items from the past that did not occur, or we'd be doing this all day.
Well, like Matthew
Sure.
says there in the chat, Nikolai Ehlers, I think, would be an excellent fit on this team. If you guys want to
Yeah,
talk
Griff,
about
pull
that.
that up.
Okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
have extensive thoughts on this whenever you guys are ready for me to talk. Until then, I'll shut up.
Yeah, it's definitely in our list of items to discuss.
Mhm.
I was going to save it for then, but we'll go ahead and pull it up now. But yeah, apparently Ehlers is available. I would deal Natchez for Ehlers and see if we could also pry Nino back as well. Matthew, I thought, you basically plucked the words out of my brain from 30 minutes ago, because I thought exactly that. I was like, if we could get Ehlers out of Winnipeg, with Natchez, there would have to be something attached to that. And why not Nino? But of course, if you pull Nino out with Ehlers, we'd probably have to send something back as well with Natchez. I figure it maybe some, a pick or some kind of futures or something like that. But that definitely crossed my mind as well. But we'll get to that. We're going to hold on to that for now, and we're going to put it right back over here. But a couple news items I want to touch on before we kind of get going, into these rumors. First thing, right? Big thing. Per Frank Saravalli, right, the first to report, Carolina has told all GM candidates that were interviewed that they plan to fill the role internally. Now, nothing official has been announced from the team or anyone else, right? But all signs point to Eric Tulsky becoming the next general manager by removing the interim tag. Everybody kind of knew already. I mean, I did. Some people were a little hopeful that that wouldn't happen.
I was about to say,
not naming any names, but we kind of. Well, there you go.
Sam Driscoll.
Oh, damn! That was AB. wait, him. That wasn't me.
Just being honest.
I mean, I hear you. But anyway,
I mean, he said it before in 45. He was like looking at other guys.
Yeah, I mean, look around, right? But at the end of the day, I mean, I think the majority of people and in the insiders, they kind of all suspected that it would be Tulsky. But it's probably the best move given the circumstances, right? There's probably not a lot of interest amongst the candidates, external candidates, due to the fact that it's a facilitator role, right? Like we talked about, Tom Dundon makes the decisions. And really what it is a facilitating position, right? Make things happen. You execute the plan, right? Amongst the landscape or what have you, right? And any real traditional, good, solid GM, and now that sounds awful, but Tulsky is going to be good, I think. But anybody that's been around, right? The Kakalainens, the Hextalls, these people, they don't want that. They want to come in and execute their plan. So there may not have been a lot of interest from the outside. And the other half of that is if you don't make Eric Tulsky your GM, you're going to create some hard feelings, right? On Tulsky's part. He's interviewed. I think he's interviewed in Chicago before. He's interviewed he interviewed in Pittsburgh before Dubas was hired. He's not just staying here because he's loyal. Like the guy wants a GM position. And, if you don't make him the GM, he's going to go be a GM somewhere else. And he is such an asset to this team because of what he does that you don't want to let that go away. So, you got both sides of that. And then, then there's just the fact that, Tom Dundon, he trusts Eric Tulsky. He's been the driving force behind a lot of the decisions that have happened within this organization over the past several years, right? He has his fingerprints all over this organization. Don Waddell was the face. Tom Dundon was the decision maker, but Eric Tulsky was the driving force behind a lot of those decisions being made by Tom and facilitation, or whatever the word is, by Waddell. So it's a seamless transition to me.
Yeah, I mean, I will say Eric Tulsky 100% deserves this job. And when they announce him as a general manager, he deserves it because he's been here. Like you said, he's been interviewed by previous teams. He has stayed here. And he knows the team and the owner more than any other candidate out there. And I think that's a good thing. You're hiring somebody who's been with the organization. And you also have to think about this too. Even though Don was the president as well as general manager, you have to think that Tulsky was involved with some of the renovation plans and some of the stadium series stuff and the All-Star game and, trades and signing players. Like, I mean, he gets it. I mean, he's been there. So, I mean, it was pretty much, I would assume, Don's right-hand man because he doesn't have the leeway to spend as much money, but it's still one of those things where everybody has seen the movie Moneyball out of all three of us, right? I talked about this in the group chat. And this kind of feels like it, because Kings don't spend a lot of money, but they're very close to getting to the top of the mountain. So I think we may see something like that this year, especially with Tulsky, who's a stats guy and analytics and everything like that. So I'm pumped that he's getting the position. And I honestly think there's going to be a big splash for Carolina in the offseason coming up.
Well, I mean, we'll get into it here in just a few minutes, but there's plenty of, potential for that big splash to happen. Before we move on here, there's something else in the chat that I want to bring in that kind of applies to what we're talking about. It's from Matthew again. He says, do we lose anything? The connections that Don Waddell had? Will Tulsky have to build those relations from scratch? Do you want to speak to that, Brandon?
In my opinion, no. Here's the thing, Tulsky is not new to and I actually just pulled something up to make sure that I was right about something. Tulsky is not new to this particular world of not just hockey analytics, but hockey management. For example, 2014 to 2017, he was considered an analyst. Then he went from director of analytics in 2019, 2020, and he's been serving as the assistant general manager since then. And now he's about to be the general manager. So he's already had his hands in on some of those phone calls. I wouldn't be surprised if he made a few of them. Excuse me. I'm very sorry about that. I wouldn't be surprised if he made a few of the phone calls himself, because especially around trade deadline time, around draft time, when a lot of trades happen, they say, yeah, Waddell's working the phone. He's not the only one making calls, though. Darren York was making calls. Don Waddell was making.
Uh-oh. I think I'll just finish elaborating on that. So yeah, I think that, I think Brandon had it right on, hit the nail on the head. Tulsky's been operating under Waddell now for several years. 4 years, I believe it is, 4 or 5 years. So here we got him back here. Hold on, let me add him back.
Oh,
there we go. Happened there, guys. I'm very sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead and finish your thought.
Yeah.
Sam Driscoll was tapping in for that.
Yeah,
that
he's not happy with what I'm saying. He's like, stop saying good things about Tulsky. He's
tapping into your server.
Yeah, but it's like, so he's already probably forged a relationship with some of the other front offices to some degree or another. Because, like I said, Waddell wasn't the only one making phone calls. Otherwise, he would have never been able to call anybody, because you're having multiple possible transactions going on all at once. So I don't think that we'll lose the connections. He might have to make some new ones. He might have to solidify some, but I don't think that we'll lose all of them altogether. Teams that we've been frequent trade partners with over the last few years, I'm pretty sure there's a good established thing there. So I think that ultimately, no.
So Matthew says it was supposed to be anything concerning the connections. No worries, Matthew. We make typos all the time, especially AB.
What?
Bro, you can't argue with that, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Go read 3 minutes of our group chat, and
I know it's bad. I know it's bad.
Don't worry, I'm sure your handwriting's better than mine.
So Joseph Griffith, Papa Griff, says you didn't pay your bill, Brandon.
Oh no, I didn't.
I'm still going with the server tap in.
I'm gonna text Sam and tell him to knock it off, and he's be like, "What?"
Oh, that's good stuff. All right, so yeah, Tulsky will likely take over here. Official announcements probably coming. We're probably to the hour mark and not the days mark, right? So Tulsky's going to get his chance to set the tone immediately with the looming decisions that basically have to be made within the next 3 weeks.
You make a good point there, because like everybody's been wondering, hey, when are UFAs going to start getting signed? Don't be surprised if you see 2 or 3 pretty quick in succession after his announcement, because now it's like, okay, we know who's steering the ship. Signatures will start going on paper after that in some way or another.
Yeah, good. Next piece of news I want to get to before we get into our rumors is the announcement that Cap Friendly, right, everybody's favorite cap management website, has been purchased by the Washington Capitals. Now, I'm going to look at this from two sides. First is the fan side, the Griff side. This is BS, right? I love Cap Friendly. Like it's too easy if you need to know, the armchair GM feature, all the so powerful to get in there and do things with. It's a great resource. And something that we've all learned through this is I didn't know that teams literally relied on Cap Friendly to manage their cap. Literal teams like operated by Cap Friendly. I did not know that until all of this started coming to light. But with this purchase, right, the Washington Capitals have purchased Cap Friendly, and it's more about the assets and the personnel, right? The brains of the operation is what they've really purchased. And they're going to take Cap Friendly down, right? So July 5th, they have graciously allowed it to continue and stay open through the draft and through, the beginning of free agency. And then they're going to shut it down on July 5th. And basically what they have done is they have taken Cap Friendly and made it theirs so they can utilize it and nobody else can. And I believe Friedman said the top two guys that are behind Cap Friendly are going to become employees of the Washington Capitals and help them basically manage their cap. Now, something that was announced this morning, and when I say announced, I mean Friedman talked about it on 32 Thoughts podcast, was that there are a number of teams that have something in place, right, that's kind of sort of like Cap Friendly to help them manage their cap. And Carolina was one of those teams that were mentioned. But there were only a handful. I believe there was only like 8, 9, maybe 10 teams that were mentioned.
I've got the list right here.
Do you? Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so NHL Watcher posted this earlier. The teams that have it or have internal cap management software or systems are Seattle, New Jersey, Carolina, Chicago, the Islanders, Toronto, Columbus. Pittsburgh didn't have anything before, but once Dubas got there, they started building something, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Because when you mentioned that, I actually pulled that up real quick because I was curious to know who the other 8 teams were.
Yeah, and that is crazy to me. If that list is really the only teams that have something to rely on after Cap Friendly goes dark, I mean, NHL organizations, billion dollar organizations are relying on a public website to manage their cap. Is crazy to me. Am I the only one that's like dumbfounded by that?
I know that there's some websites out there that are very similar. I've seen like responses to the tweets, and I haven't checked them out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't checked them out personally, but yeah, Cap Friendly has been like a huge staple in the hockey world for probably 10 plus years. So, I mean, to have it taken down sucks, but it doesn't surprise me that the Hurricanes are already doing it because, again, Eric Tulsky, stats guy, analytics. So it doesn't bother me, but yeah, I mean, Washington just does something wrong again. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it sucks, but
on the other half of the aisle, though. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead and finish your thought.
Other half of the what?
I was going to say on the other half of the aisle, right? I said I was going to look at it from two perspectives: the Griff side, the fan side, and then the side of like the business side of the house.
I still can't believe. Yeah, I still can't believe that some of the NHL teams use that. I didn't know that until you just said that.
What?
To be quite honest, that a lot of the NHL teams use Cap Friendly.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's been all over Twitter. You must have been working a lot lately, AB.
I have. But
if any of my employers are listening to this, I promise I don't scroll Twitter all day. Just full disclosure. Go ahead.
Anyways, now I lost my train of thought because you keep interrupting me. All right, phone a friend. Brandon, you go. I forgot. Thanks.
Okay.
You said I just told you about that. You said you just learned about the NHL teams using that when I said that.
The thought is gone. I
rudely interrupted you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'll give you a hug. I'll give you a hug next time I see you.
Good.
So in a way, it surprises me that teams don't have some sort of internal, or most teams don't have some sort of internal cap management assets. At the same time, when something like Cap Friendly exists, or will soon not be existing, but from a standpoint, okay, let me put it this way. It surprises me that we do have an internal cap management system, especially under Dundon, because he could say Cap Friendly exists, just use that. We're not going to spend money on our own thing. It was such a good tool, and it was such a good asset, and it was so well run that NHL teams were like, why should I bother employing people? Why should I bother developing software and spending money, time, and assets on something like this when I have a free resource that's just as good, if not better, than anything I could make in-house? So
Yeah.
the Washington Capitals, what they did was they, one, took a resource for themselves because, like, I live here. I know a lot of their fans, and one thing that they're always upset about, they feel like that the team is not very analytically driven at all. And they're like, what happens after Ovechkin retires? What's the roadmap after that? And they found a way to kind of maybe accelerate their rebuild a little bit because they're going to have to go into a serious one. They don't have a whole lot of future assets right now. And at the same time, they denied the rest of the league an asset, and they did it in one motion. It's dirty and it's underhanded, and I would be pissed off if Carolina did it. Yeah, my thoughts on this are pretty well documented in ways that I can't say on here, but the whole thing about it is, like you're saying, from a business perspective, absolutely genius.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it is.
they also made the rest of the league mad, and they might be reluctant to do business with them in terms of transactions going forward, and I would not blame them.
Matthew P. Again says, and apparently the NHL wasn't all that happy about fans knowing all the information available from Cap Friendly. Color me shocked.
That's bad for fan engagement. With that,
Yeah.
that was stupid on their part.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not secret, right? I think it's public information, and it is for a reason. And Cap Friendly was a great tool to help you kind of understand the way the cap worked, right? That's how I learned about how the LTIR system worked, right? So Joe says a lot of beat writers relied on Cap Friendly too. Yeah, writers, podcasters, radio hosts, ESPN.
I used it extensively. When I finish up the Jarvis video here in a few days, that's going to be kind of unexpected, like bittersweet for me, because that's going to be the last time I get to use Cap Friendly. And I'm just like,
Yeah,
I'm sure Puckpedia will get better now because a bunch of people are going to go over there. They're going to get a lot more traffic. They'll generate some more revenue. But I feel like that it wasn't enough of an asset where the rest of the teams could get together and pull some sort of legal action to say, no, you can't buy that, and step in and stop it. But at the same time, hockey's a business. It relies on the interest of fans, and fans who take the time to understand salary cap structure are your most dedicated ones. They're the ones that invest the most time, money into it and everything like that. And they really did us all dirty with that. They really did.
Yeah. I expect something else, like something new to come of this too. Like, something maybe similar, somebody stand up and create, or who knows. We'll see what happens. But hey, we'll shift away from this. Rest in peace, Cap Friendly. We will miss you. But before we get going on these rumors, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to hear from DraftKings in just a second. The chase for the Stanley Cup continues, and the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is just as hot as it is on the ice. With same-game parlays, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more, don't miss out as the Stanley Cup playoffs wind down. And if you are new to DraftKings, you got to check this out. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5, only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/ice for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Copyright NHL 2024. All rights reserved.
That was beautiful.
I like that
Did
little
you-
transition. That's
Did
cool.
you like that?
No, I just liked you talking. That's what I was talking about.
That too. That's cool too.
Oh, AB.
And you, Brendan, of course.
No, you don't.
Okay.
All right, boys. Rumor season, right? We have to start with none other than Martin Necas. This is currently the biggest rumor surrounding the team. It has been since, the exit interviews, right? So, we'll get right into it, right? So the rumor started immediately following the playoff exit, like we just said, and there was some reports of an interview that his father did with some Czech media that basically said that he was unhappy with Carolina. He wanted to play a bigger role. He wanted to play center. He wanted to play top minutes. I'm going to save my thoughts on that comment until later. But there's been reports on and off about who's interested around the league. It seems like everyone's interested in some fashion. And there's been rumors on what Carolina would like in return. Necas, it's been reported that Necas hasn't publicly talked about wanting out of Carolina, and we haven't seen anything saying that. But insiders have said recently that those conversations have happened privately between Necas and the team, and that he indeed wants out, right? So I'm going to open it up to you guys, and I'm just going to say one thing, and then I'll let you guys take it and run with it. But as far as the complaint about him playing top minutes and, playing on the top power play and playing center and all that, Necas plays top minutes on this team. He plays in basically all situations other than the penalty kill, right? For obvious reasons. But he's on the power play. He's been on the first unit, but he's that one-timer position is where he feasts, right? We've seen him, score some big goals from that spot, right? The Ovechkin spot or whatever we want to call it. And just because he's playing second line, or in some views, third line, right? Because the stall line takes more minutes usually in some games. But Necas is usually right up there in the top 3 or 4 players as far as forwards, as far as ice time.
Mm-hmm.
So I call BS, on that narrative. Yes, he is handcuffed a little bit when it comes to his offensive, freedom. Rod expects his forwards to be defensively responsible. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not for everybody, though. And if he doesn't want to play that way, so be it. But the whole narrative that, he's not getting the opportunity, that ain't true. Ain't true at all. So run with it, fellas.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, first of all, your dad doesn't need to be, in the media saying all of this stuff. I know he's your son, but then again, it's really none of your business because he's an adult. He is responsible for himself, not for, what his dad, he said, she said, whatever it may be. Like you said, Martin Necas is a key part of this team. I mean, I think the dad's probably referring to, being something like an Edmonton top line where they're on the ice for like 25 minutes a night, which, okay. But I mean, that's just not how Rod's system is. I mean, they rotate, and that top 6 rotates. I mean, you could see anywhere from them playing, average probably 18 minutes a night for Natchez, and it's obviously going to be a little bit more for Aho. And like you said, Natchez doesn't go on the penalty kill for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where right now they're not gonna re-sign Natchez because he's gonna ask for a ton of money. And since you have the rights right now and he's an RFA, why not get something done? I mean, you know, I've heard Carolina has interest, but they're just not really, seeing the return that they want. And recently it just came out, maybe there's an interest in a 3-team trade, which would be fine. So if Nate just wants to go and play top minutes, over 20 minutes a night, go ahead. I mean, it sucks that he may not be here by the start of this season. And I've heard also that he wants to play center.
Yeah.
And he's played really well in the right wing position, but I just don't see him as a center. And the deal is going to get done. It's just a matter of when and who. So, I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say on that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to Natchez being a center, I feel like he should have been given a sustained opportunity there of about 10 games or so, and he never got it. I know that's part of his frustration because playing a position you don't want to play can be really aggravating. One of the other things that I was considering as far as Natchez and his fit here, so he was actually on the penalty kill last season. I don't know what dynamic changed between him and Rod, because that's one of the ways you know that Rod trusts you is if you're on the penalty kill. That's his A team. And he wasn't on it this season. It was the same thing. Kokiniemi was on the penalty kill last year, and he wasn't on it this season when his play declined.
Some of that has to do with the emergence of Seth Jarvis.
That is true. That's a big factor of it. Now, the biggest downside of losing Natchez is it looks like we're going to lose Gensel too. That's a lot of offense that we are subtracting. So as far as getting a return for Natchez, you don't need someone who puts up the numbers he does, but you need to get someone back who puts up at least 75% of those numbers and everything. Henceforth, why someone like Nikolai Ehlers being involved in a deal that moves Natchez out, I think would be pretty good. Plus, he would fit well with Rod's system. I'm not entirely ready to say that it's time for Natchez to go because, like you said on the last episode, he doesn't make you worse.
No.
There are very few times where I've said that Rod Brind'Amour has made a bad decision. Not giving Natchez a few games at center is one of the bad ones because we've got so many defensively competent forwards on this team. We can afford to have a couple of high-risk, high-reward guys up front. Like when they tried the Kuznetsov, Gensel, and Natchez line, I was over the moon. We have this great defense. We might as well have some high-risk, high-reward players somewhere in the lineup. We needed a line like that was scary in the offensive zone. Natchez can be one that you build one of those around. So I would love to have seen him play center. I understand why he wants to do it, but here's the other big question, and if you guys have an answer for this, please let me know. If we did trade Natchez to another team, what first-line center is he going to overtake on day one in this league? I don't think of any.
Yeah, I mean, unless you put him,
true.
Unless you send him into a team that's in
Utah.
The middle of I don't even think
San Jose.
Well, he's not going to. So who's Utah's first top line center? Isn't it? What's his name?
Keller's a left winger.
Yeah.
No, not
It's
Keller.
not Schmaltz is the second line center, or he was playing center. He's on the wing now too. I don't even remember.
I don't remember his name, but they've got a guy there that's solid.
Is it their most recent pick? Is that who you may be thinking of?
No,
the guy who was just drafted.
If you look it up and find it, bring it up. But
yeah, I can do that right now.
Oh no,
I got it.
Mine. You're gonna do it. I'm gonna look and see everybody's lines.
Anyway, I don't think that. I think to your point, Brandon. I think Rod should have given Natchez the opportunity, right? And he had that opportunity toward the beginning of the year when Aho was hurt. And if you remember, we had Teravainen playing center for, was it like 8 games or something?
He did pretty good.
He did, but you could have given Natchez that opportunity just to see, right? To see what he has. And then basically either find out that you have something.
Logan Cooley.
Or Logan Cooley. That's it. That
was the draft pick.
Was it?
Yeah. That was the draft pick.
Well, he's not going to overtake Logan Cooley. I don't
No.
believe. They're
And
not
even if
gonna,
he goes to somewhere like San Jose, Macklin Celebrini is going to be up the lineup pretty quick there.
Celebrini's going back to BU though.
Oh, he's going back to college. Okay, never mind then. So he might
going
be
back
able to
1 year.
compete for the 1C spot there.
He could, but I don't. Carolina's not, unless they work out a 3-team trade. Carolina's not doing a trade with San Jose involving Natchez. I mean, what are you going to get back from that that's going to, make up for the offense that you lose?
Offense wise, no. But if we lose a bunch of our defensive UFAs, I know exactly who I want from San
Well,
Jose.
Yes. But you could also, and we're going to talk about that. I've got that on my list. But you could get that guy and not even have to worry about Natchez, right? I mean, anyway, we'll save that for a minute.
I mean, you could put Natchez with the Wild, but they have Erickson X, so that's like the only thing that I'm seeing so far going through everything that could possibly be something.
I don't know. I don't see him playing top line center.
They need a center.
Playing top line, possibly second, if as a center. But
well,
go ahead.
Papa Griff had a good point here, though, saying, I mean, and we discussed this before with the whole Natchez to Boston thing. You know, they lost. He said Bruins go get Allmark.
Yeah, that's something that I'd be interested in doing.
I would be too.
Hold that. Let's finish. Just two more minutes.
Okay.
Just a minute. Let me just get through this and then we'll get into that. But it has been reported, right, that Carolina does view Natchez as a budding star, right? They expect him to be great. Okay. And I think Carolina recognizes the fact that if he goes to a place like Edmonton or, one of these locations that, has a high powered offense at the top and they give him the opportunity to just play his game, that he could potentially become that 80, 90 point guy. I mean, he's already a 70-point player. We've already seen that here. I mean, if you put him on an offense that gives him the freedom to do what he wants to do, I mean, he could just go off. But, I think Carolina recognizes that, and they want the other teams to know that they recognize that, and they expect a solid return, something of the like, right? And with that, they have come out and told teams who do not have what Carolina is looking for, they've told them such, right? So that's where this whole 3-team trade thing came from. Friedman and various other insiders have reported, over the weekend and coming into yesterday that talks have picked up. Picked up was the word that was used, and that I believe it was this morning. I don't know if it was this morning or yesterday where the 3-team possibility came about. So that's something to watch between now and probably the draft. I think that if it doesn't happen this week, then or this week or next, I believe it'll get done by the draft. So we'll see what happens. But now let's get into this, right? Papa says Bruins go get Allmark. LOL. He said up here,
he's very active.
Sign Jake and trade for Allmark. Well,
appreciate the comments, Papa Griff.
Yeah. I'm about to
I wish a lot of the other people that are watching would do that too.
But I'm about to disagree.
Papa Griff.
Hold on. I'm about to disagree with you, Pops. So originally I thought Allmark, right? Then I was like, no, I want UC Saros. Then the whole thing came out about how Saros was going to wait until Shesterkin signed his contract to re-sign or sign a new contract or whatever. We all know Igor Shesterkin's going to set the goalie market, right? He's got 1 year left, and then he's up for a contract. That could happen as soon as July 1st. Saros knows that after Shesterkin signs, that will basically set the value for Saros. He's not going to get quite as much as Shesterkin gets, but it'll probably be 70 or 80%. of what Shesterkin gets. Maybe a little bit more than that. I don't know. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the other guy that's kind of similar to that, right? Similar to the Allmark Saros. Well, really not Allmark, but Saros is Jacob Markstrom. It's been reported that he is, that Calgary's in talks with the Devils. But I don't think those three guys do it for us. I think they're too expensive. I think they're aging. And there's no term. There's no term on Allmark. There's only 1 year. So if we trade Natchez for Allmark, we're getting 1 year at $5 million, and then you're not guaranteed to have him beyond that. He could walk after next year.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Saros. Saros, well, I think does Saros have? I don't know if he has 1 or 2 years left.
I think he has 2.
It might
if
be
I'm not
2.
mistaken. Let me do a little research.
But that's a price tag on that too. And then Markstrom has 1 year, I believe, at $6 million. That doesn't really solve our problems. It solves our problems in the short term.
No, this is his last year on his contract.
Saros?
Yeah.
Yeah.
$5 million.
At $5 million, exactly. So to me, that doesn't make sense. I don't believe, you heard our interview with Adam Gold last week in session 45, and Adam Gold was like, where was I going with that? I just lost my train of thought.
That happened to me.
He said something along the lines of, I totally just lost my train of thought. Anyway, moving on from that. I just think those guys are too expensive. I remember now. I brought up the fact that I thought this team was on a 5-year path right now. Adam disagreed with that. And he was like, well, I hope it doesn't take 5 years. Yeah, nobody does. But I don't believe we're going to be content. We're not going to be cup contenders next year unless we happen to make some genius moves. And I mean, which could happen, don't get me wrong, but I don't believe we're contenders this year or next. I think we're on a 5-year path. I think you look at year 3, 4, 5. Once Nikishin gets in, once our young prospects, kind of grow a little bit, get some experience, play on the team for a couple seasons. I think that's when you're looking at our window to contend again. Does Allmark or Saros help with that? No. You need somebody long term. And I think the guys in the building. I think that you either need to commit to Kochetkov and find a solid backup, so that way Spencer Martin can go play in the AHL in Chicago. And if you're not going to commit to Kochetkov, then you need to go find the guy that it's going to be. And there's a name that has been said over the past 24 to 48 hours, right? And that is another Nashville goaltender by the name of Yaroslav Askarov, who he was the 2020 first round pick for the Predators, taken 11th overall, and is arguably the best goaltending prospect in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to play in the NHL right now. He's 21 years old, which is kind of young for a goalie, but being who he is and to his abilities, he's ready to go now. And if you don't want to play him next season, then maybe in 2 seasons he's ready to go. But could you pry him out of Nashville with Natchez?
Natchez plus.
Huh?
Natchez plus, I think you'd have to throw something else in there, but Natchez could be the main piece, yeah.
Maybe. But you get him on an entry-level contract, right? I don't know when he's up for, I don't know when he'd be an RFA, but I don't know when he's due. I don't know if it's this season or maybe it was last. I don't know. But I know he's got he's making less than $1 million right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you could bring him in. If you could get him out of Nashville somehow, bring him in, sign him to a modest, 3-year contract that brings him, before he hits unrestricted free agency. That could be your answer. And then that gives Kochetkov somebody to compete with. And then maybe, maybe Kochetkov figures it out and maybe he still becomes the guy. I don't know. But Askarov, if you could pry him out of Nashville using Necas, because they're either Nashville's either going to have to commit to Saros for, however much longer, or they're going to have to go to Askarov now. Like he's ready to go. He does not need to be waiting in the minors. So I'll quit talking for a minute. Go ahead, guys.
I don't think there's really a need for the Hurricanes to get Askarov. I mean, why sign Kochetkov to a 4-year contract if you're going to bring in another goaltender and pretty much say, hey, I mean, I thought he was going to be the future, and now you're bringing in a guy that is one of, like you said, the best goalie prospect, and now it's like, hey, we paid you some of this money, but this guy's going to be the guy. It just doesn't make sense for me. I think if you trade Necas, you have to have somebody with term that makes an impact now.
Maybe. I'm just saying if you want to go the goaltender route, I just don't think Carolina's ready to trust Kochetkov. If they were, they would have played him against the Islanders.
That was another thing I did. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine. You're absolutely right. I don't know if they see him as, I don't know. Like maybe they're still waiting for him to develop. But the guy's basically here all season.
He's ready.
He carried your team for months. He's arguably one of the reasons you're in the position you're in. Play him.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah. And see, that was the other thing that was one of the reoccurring decisions Rod has made at times that always has baffled me. It has been a lot of the ones between the pipes. For example, when he went back to Peter Mrazek in the conference finals in 2019, when McElhinney was playing as well as he was, I'll never understand that. And then some of the goaltending decisions that were made during this last playoffs, I don't understand a lot of them. I think that what we do between the pipes depends on what happens with a lot of our UFAs, because that will decide whether we stay competitive or not. If it looks like we're going to lose, I would say more than 2/3 of our UFAs and start letting the kids like Nadeau and Blake and all them get in there and get time and all that, then I think you go ahead and let Kochetkov take the 1A role between the pipes, regardless of whether you have Anderson as the 1B or you go out and get somebody else, because at that point we're committing to a soft retool, not a serious one. I'd say it would take 2 to 3 seasons for the team to get back to that contention type of status like they have been in the last few years. So I think that if we're going to see what Kochetkov is made of, and I said this last year, I actually think we talked about this the first time I was on with you guys, if I remember correctly. If you're going to see what Kochetkov is made of, if you're going to see what his ceiling is, you need to do it now. And if we put that off too much longer, if we overcook him, or undercook him, I guess would be the case, then he's never going to hit that full potential. I don't know if they're afraid of another Jack LaFontaine situation happening, but that was the exception, not the rule. So my personal belief is let's simplify the problem. Let's pull Occam's razor out here. Give Kochetkov the 1A. I think while Freddie was out and after Antti Raanta declined, I think he wholeheartedly earned his right to be the 1A coming out of training camp next season, pending any other big changes. I think now's the time. Let him have it.
Yeah, I think he's ready.
Yeah. You're either going to have to commit to him or not at this point, in my opinion. So, But now moving on to the guy who currently is our number 1 goalie, Freddie Anderson, right? So there's been some speculation. I don't know if I've heard any solid rumors around Freddie. Like I haven't heard, that they were shopping him or, they've told teams that he's available or anything like that. But, a lot of people that know think that he will be moved this offseason. And in my opinion, I don't think he plays another game for Carolina. And the reason I think that he could really be gone is he has a movable contract. He's only got 1 year left at $3.4 million, which is totally reasonable for Freddie. But like we said, like we've talked about, I think Carolina needs to decide whether Kochetkov's the guy or not. You make your decision and you stick to it. And you either go get a number 1 or you commit to Kochetkov. If you commit to Kochetkov and you can't move Freddie, then Freddie needs to be your number 2. I don't care how much he's making. I don't care if your number 1 is making less money than your number 2. You know, you need to let Freddie know he's the number 2 next year if you can't move him. If you can move him, and the goalie market is trash, to be honest, this offseason. So I really believe that if somebody would take Freddie and be happy with him. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, I mean, I like Freddie a lot. Like, he's played really well for us. Last year he was great. I mean, some parts in the playoffs he was great, but I think against the Rangers it kind of looked like that his age caught up to him. And from being on that break due to medical reasons for so long, I think that's really what didn't help him either in the playoffs, because there were a couple goals that if he didn't let him in, then we could be looking at something different. Not saying that it could have happened, not saying it was going to happen, but, you know, it could have. But yeah, it's time. Kochetkov, it's time. I mean, you just have to trust. You just have to trust him. And I know Rod trusts him, and I know, you know, he may prefer Freddie, but I mean, Freddie's what, almost 34, 35? So, I mean, his prime days are pretty much over. That Kochetkov is there. Like, this is the time to play him. I'd say move Freddie, sign a veteran for probably about like $2 million, or maybe go get somebody via trade. But it's time for Kochetkov. I mean, I've said it before, and I'm saying it again. It's time.
And if you move on from Freddie and you want Kochetkov to be the starter, you can go get somebody like Mackenzie Blackwood maybe, or Kirill Vejmelka, who I really like. I think he's very underrated. Granted, my knowledge of goalies is not nearly as good as yours, AB. But it's like, I think that someone like that for a backup for Kochetkov is still close enough to him to where it creates competition for him, where he knows I have to stay on my toes. I have to play well if I want to keep the starter spot, if I want to keep the 1A spot. But I mean, if we don't find out what we have in Kochetkov this season, like, if we're not going to do it now, when are we going to do it? Because we got a lot of decisions to make coming up. And, you know, yeah, some contracts are probably going to start getting signed once the interim tag falls off of Tulski, but we don't know who's staying yet. We know we have Kochetkov for 2 more seasons on his contract now. Like, we need to go ahead and figure out what we got with him now. And he knows he's playing for his next deal, so he's going to be at his best.
Absolutely.
What, he's got 2 more years, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's playing for his next deal, though, because he'll be eligible to sign an extension July 1st of next year. So this season is super important. Like, if he really shows out this year and does really well, then on July 1st of next year, he can go ahead and sign an extension, and he can get a big one, and he can get quite the payday if he plays well.
Mm-hmm.
BTS, not the band. Sorry,
very
I was
frequent.
Late.
Hey, bud. Very, very frequent contributor of mine. He comes on my streams a lot. He's awesome. I told him to come in here and say hi to everybody.
Shit.
Yeah, thanks for showing up, even if you were late. No problems. Better late than never. And you can always go back and watch the whole thing later if you want. So,
and you can subscribe and like and comment and hit the notification bell when
you can
do another one.
Listen, or you can listen to the audio wherever you get your podcasts.
That's right.
It'll be up at 5 a.m. in the morning Eastern Standard Time. All right. We got a little bit more to get to, guys. I don't care how long it takes. Let's keep going. Another, unless you guys got to go, but
I'm good. I ain't got nowhere to be until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, right? There's been, I don't know if we want to call them rumors, but speculation, right, around KK. You know, what will the organization do with KK? You know, you can buy him out, you can try to move his contract, or you can keep him on the roster. I could see 2 of those things happening, not so much the third. I don't think we see a buyout. This organization does not like dead money, dead cap. But, you know, basically what it would be is about 12 years on the books, basically an entry-level contract. Running for 12 years that you don't get. But, you know, again, Carolina, Tom Dundon hates dead cap. So, you know, I don't really expect to see a buyout. I think if they can move him, they will. But it's going to be hard to move a $4.8 million contract from a guy that scored like 3 points from this calendar year. I mean, but I mean, maybe there's somebody out there that sees something in him that maybe they think they can take him on and still, he can still become that, top player whose contract ages well. I mean, and maybe that's us. Maybe we still keep him. I know the organization, there's been reports that they still think that he can be who they think he can be. And, who am I to say he's not? But I don't think he is. So, can they move him? Are there teams interested? I don't know. I'm not sure you can move him unless there's a team that wants him, obviously. And you can't really retain salary on him because that'd be more expensive than buying him out. Mm-hmm. So I don't think Carolina would do that. You'd have to move the entire contract. But could you find a way to package KK and something else, maybe some futures? Maybe you can use that as a piece to San Jose to get Ferraro in return, right? Because Carolina has, within the last 12 hours or so, been linked to Mario Ferraro from San Jose, who currently has 2 years remaining on a contract at $3.25 million. Great defenseman.
Yeah.
So
solid, that guy.
I know you are just waiting, chomping at the bit to talk about Ferraro, Brandon. So go for it, buddy.
Mario Ferraro is one of the best valued shutdown defensemen in this league in terms of what he's getting paid right now and the fact that he's only 25. Carolina has looked at him before. If we were to lose every single one of our UFAs minus Tony, you sign Tony, you trade for him, you've got a third pair again, and you've got a very solid one at that. Mario Ferraro has a very similar skill set to a guy like Joel Edmondson, Ian Cole, ones like that, but I think he's better than both of them.
Yeah.
So, and his contract is excellent. As far as retaining salary on KK, there'd be one way I'd be willing to do it. If it's no more than $800,000, I'd say go ahead, because then you're paying the same penalty that you would be paying with the buyout, but for half the amount of time.
Right.
So
that's true.
I'd be okay with that. So I think a rebuilding team like San Jose, that our retool, if we go into a full one, will be done before San Jose is making the playoffs. That's just the way that it is. So I would say you can probably really entice someone like them or Chicago to take Jesperi Kotkaniemi. I would like to see him salvage his career. I just don't think it's going to happen in Carolina. I hate that because y'all, when you met me, I was wearing his sweater. Like, I really love the kid. I hate that it's gone this way for him. I know a lot of it comes down to bad luck and physics, but at the same time, it's gotten to his head. So I would say if you can send him and maybe even Natchez as well, you could get a pretty big return from San Jose. That involves Mario Ferraro. I don't know who else you would throw in that, but a team like that could be a good trade partner for something like that. But Mario Ferraro, definitely. I would love to see him in Carolina.
Yeah, maybe you can bring in a third team to make something happen, get creative. Who knows? Any thoughts on
salary?
Oh, good point on that. Yeah, because then we could say, all right, we'll retain $800,000, or we'll retain half of the $800,000. You get a third team involved, and they retain $400,000 of it, and then after that, that dead cap, it's not going to be much of anything in a few years. It'll be a blip on the radar.
Yeah, and then his $4.8 million contract is now a 3.5 or something to somebody else, which is a little more easier to swallow. So, yeah, I mean, who knows? They'll get creative. There's so many ways they can get creative with it. Any thoughts on KKAB before we move on?
Man, I was super excited when we got him. I thought Montreal stunned in his development badly. But you can't have a guy who's picked third overall and have a career high of 42 points. Like, I really thought this was the year for him. He started out super strong and then just fell apart. I don't know. I mean, I like KK, but like, I hate to say this, to be quite honest. I mean, like, he sucks. He's not that good. Like, we had him in a spot where he was projected to be and where all of us thought he was going to be, but it just seems like time and time again, he just can't do it. And maybe a change of scenery can do that, like San Jose, and have a third team. Maybe you get KK Ferraro and have some salary retained, maybe throw a pick or something in there. I think that'd be ideal.
Yeah, if you get him somewhere where he can settle into like the third line center, because I never saw KK as a definitive second line center. I thought of him as a Jordan Staal replacement with some more offensive upside. That's what I always saw was a high end middle six center. We don't really have room for that now. With all the pending departures we have, we still don't have room for a player like KK because we've got Kuznetsov who could very easily be extended. Kuznetsov brings you some offense. We don't want to lose any more of that than it looks like we're already going to. Jordo, he's not going anywhere. I think the only way he hangs it up is if we win a cup between now and the next 3 years. The only way he hangs it up preemptively. Jack Drury can also play wing if we do keep him, if he's cool with playing wing. KK can't do both. He did okay in the playoffs on wing, but like he plays one position well, and that's center. And when he's not playing center well, he's not very valuable. And that's very unfortunate, but it's the way that it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So moving on here. We'll see what happens with KK. I could see it going either way. But also, Carolina has been linked to Nick Ehlers, right? We've talked about it sporadically throughout the session. He has a 1-year contract remaining at $6 million. That could be somewhere, that could be a potential return for Necas. Something, maybe that and something else. Who knows? I think Necas may be a better player, but I believe Ehlers fits this system. I think he kind of replaces the offense that Necas would, we'd lose with Necas, right? Ehlers is a perennial 25 to 30 point goal guy.
And he's quick.
Yeah. He's, I think he scored at least 20 goals in every season in Winnipeg.
Except for one.
That
was where he was hurt.
Right. But how many he had this year? I believe he had like 28, right?
25, 36. He had 61 points.
61 points, right? So that's, that's replacing Necas's production right there for the most part.
And he's only 28.
605 games played, 201 goals, 256 assists for 457 points and a +92 rating.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
That's
averages the same time on ice too. 16.
Rod will love him.
Oh yeah. Rod, yeah. That's what I mean. He's a perfect replacement. He can play up in your lineup or he can play down if you need him to for whatever reason, but I don't see why you would. You could play him right there on your second line or
maybe your first. I don't know.
He's all situations guy too. You can use him penalty kill, power play, everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's something to watch as well. Mm-hmm. Next line, it has been rumored or reported, I won't say rumored, but reported that the market for players like Stefan Noesen, like Jordan Martinook, that the market will really be high on guys like that.
Yeah.
A lot of teams are looking for some depth, grit that people like that provide, right? Steph Noesen's going to get paid this year. Jordan Martinook is going to get paid this year. It's yet to be seen whether Stefan Noesen and Jordan Martinook will take the old hometown discount to stay in Carolina. They are both Rod Brindamore type guys. Rod loves Jordan Martinook. I'm pretty sure he would adopt him as his own son if he could. And Jordan Martinook defines this culture.
Yeah.
And you don't want to lose that. I think that he deserves a bigger contract. I hope that they can work it out in Carolina. Maybe you can give him a little bit more term than you would want to, just to kind of, if he takes a couple dollars off of the
with the term, yeah, it's fine.
If it takes a couple dollars less, maybe you give him an extra year or two that you wouldn't normally give him, just to kind of,
if he comes in under 2.5, give him 4 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Where he could probably go out on the market and get 3.5 to 4 somewhere else for 2 to 3 years. He probably can. Same
I
with
really
Nason.
want Nason. I want him for like 5. I'd take him for 5 years, $3 million.
3x5 for Nason. Do that immediately.
Yeah, he is
Yeah.
that good. Stephen Nason is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that, but you know, there will be a demand for guys like that. So, you know, hey, look, and if they go and they get the pay, they get the money, do right by their family, you can't argue with that. No hard
That's true.
feelings. They were
Last
both
big
great for their
contract.
team.
Yeah, that's the last big contract for both of those guys too, probably.
Yeah.
And this is the first time that Nason really got to explore that because we know how his career path was and everything. Like, he's an amazing story. I would love for him to stay in Carolina. I think that Martinook has to stay, though, from a standpoint of keeping the core of the team intact. I think that Martinook has to stay.
A lot of people are hard on Jordan Martinook, but
man, he's so good. I mean, anybody in the NHL level is good, but like he is. I mean, there is no.
It's
I will say this:
intangibles,
without
too.
a Hurricanes resurgence, I couldn't see it without Jordan Martinook.
I couldn't either.
It's a lot of the off ice stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
100%. You know, I mean, he provides. You know, we know what he provides on the ice, but it's a lot of off the ice stuff too. And like,
great interviews.
He may be one of the top 2 or 3 most important UFAs this season, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
With all the young kids we got coming up, I want Martinook around because he's really, really good with the kids.
Yeah. And Seth Jarvis, can't lose him either.
No, he ain't going nowhere.
I mean,
no, I mean Seth can't lose Jordan Martinook.
Oh, that too, yeah.
But moving on from that, right? I said that I thought Martinook was one of the top 2 or 3 most important UFAs. I have come to the conclusion over the last couple days that I think could be your most important UFA this offseason, and that is Jalen Chatfield.
Yes.
I have, yes, Brady Shea, you want to try to keep him if you can. He's going to be expensive. He's important, yes. Jordan Martinook's important. Steph Nason's important. Teuvo Teravainen's important, right? All these guys are important, but I'm going to make my case for why I believe that Jalen Chatfield may be the most important. And, the more I think about it, the more I think that this is bigger than most people think or have thought to this point. I listened to Adam Gold's podcast last night. He went live to talk about the Eric Tulsky situation and the GM situation and a couple rumors and whatnot, kind of like what we're doing now. He had a guest on, but he made a really good point last night about how Chatfield and Orlov were technically your first pair in the playoffs. As far as the matchups they drew, the minutes they played. And then he talked about how he thought that Jalen Chatfield could be Jacob Slavin's partner next season.
Mm-hmm.
Because Brent Burns has seemingly taken a step back, or, you could really see his fatigue in the playoffs in certain ways. I didn't think he was bad, but he was definitely not textbook Brent Burns. That he may move down the lineup a little bit for next season. And Chatfield could be a guy that you could play on your top pair and be fine. Or if you want to leave Burns there with Slavin, you can deploy Chatfield with Orlov on your second pair, right? Because that they can play and shut down teams. So if we are our top 4, if you sign Jalen Chatfield, our top 4 is pretty much solidified.
Yeah.
You need to bring in some, another puck moving defenseman, maybe a Tony DeAngelo or someone else that could play. I'd be okay if it was DeAngelo. But I think that he could be one of your top 4 defensemen. And I've said this all year, but it kind of hits home now because he could play top pair. He's proven it. Night in, night out. He's got an offensive upside. He can shoot the puck. He can pass the puck. He's everything you could ask for.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, because he could solidify your top 4, I think he's very important to the blue line. and I think he may be one of the top UFAs in terms of importance to re-sign. Your thoughts on that?
Jalen Chatfield obviously is a priority. I mean, Jalen Chatfield has pretty much. I mean, he was in Vancouver. He really wasn't getting that much time in Vancouver, and now all of a sudden you bring this guy into the mix, and we saw it this year. Tony DeAngelo, we thought was going to be the Tony DeAngelo that we saw 2 years ago, and you also had Dmitry Orlov, and both of those guys struggled. But when Jalen Chatfield got plugged in there, I mean, Orlov and Chatfield were, I would say, the best pair all season and in the playoffs. Because Orlov had a great playoff, so did Jalen Chatfield. I will say that I don't think that Brent Burns is going to leave with Jacob Slavin. I think that pair is going to stay together because I think we've talked about it, and I think Mike Mimiscalco or Adam has talked about it, that Rod loves that pair. I don't think that's going to change. If it were to, I love Jalen Chatfield. I just think that maybe you need an offensive defenseman up there with Jacob Slavin. Not saying Chatfield isn't capable of being a top-line guy. I mean, he is. But I think the way Rod likes it is a defensive defenseman, offensive defenseman, kind of how it was a little bit this year.
Well, I think if you give Jalen Chatfield the opportunity to provide offense, I think he'll do it, and I think he'll be what you're just talking about. Boom.
I just can't see it right now. I mean, especially with Burns on the roster, I can't see it.
Hey, Papa knows what's up. Chatfield is a grown-ass man.
Yes, he is.
Jarvis.
Absolutely. And so is Seth Jarvis.
That's right.
Martinook, Jarvis, and Chatfield are all three grown-ass men, and they need to stay together for a while.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's true. That's 100% true.
So,
go ahead.
Last week's episode when I joined you guys from the box, and we were talking about who like the priority one was, I stated that Chatfield was because I do feel like, one, you keep the defense intact. The top four is definitively intact. Building a bottom pair is not going to be that hard. If Joel Edmondson hits free agency, go get him. Trade for Mario Ferraro, sign Tony. Even if you lose Pesci and Shea, you'll still have a solid third pair, and you have a really solid second pair that can play a higher amount of minutes if they need to. I personally think that the biggest reason to sign Chatfield is that's who I want to be on Nikishin's right side in a couple of seasons. Because as far as people you could put with Slavin, Tony's an option. Scott Morrow will eventually be an option. There's other ways you can go about that. I like the way they distribute the defense. Shoot. Yeah, Morrow might make the team
in a year, hopefully.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you have, so here's what I'm imagining, if you will. Let's say we lose all of our UFAs 2 seasons from now. You still have a pair of Slavin and Morrow, Nikishin and Chatfield, Mario Ferraro and Tony DeAngelo. That's going to be a really solid defense. That's going to be really good. And then you could probably swap Morrow and DeAngelo if you wanted to, for example. There's a ton of interchangeability there with that type of lineup. But I personally see Chatfield as a good long-term piece, and you wouldn't have to pay him Pesci money because he doesn't have a Pesci resume.
Yeah. Absolutely. Agree. Yeah. So let's if you don't have any last thoughts on that, let's address some of these comments and questions, and then we will wrap it up and get out of here for the night. I'm just going to go back up here. BTS says, if Kuchi is going to be the starter, I don't think we will need an Allmark. Agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. We talked about that a little bit. He says if he doesn't want $1 billion, we should try to get Reinhart. Yeah, the problem with Reinhart is I think he's going to want $1 billion. So
stay away from that
here. Yeah, I don't see that.
Not worth the risk.
I don't know if he leaves Florida. So he wants to know, when are you doing the Jarvis stream?
I'm going to try to do it tomorrow night. If not tomorrow night, I'll try to do it on Thursday. And I'm going to try to have these guys and the Sams on so we can do a little roundtable talk about Tulski because, like you said, we're probably within hours of them announcing the interim tag is falling off. And then I would love to hear you and Sam publicly air your opinions for the world to see. And I will sit here and be entertained.
Me and Sam.
I want to see you and Sam head to head.
I gotta watch. I gotta
Yeah,
watch.
I'm instigating this particular issue,
boy.
and everyone, it's free for you to come watch and just enjoy the. We're going to cause specifically. They are going to cause chaos, and I'm just going to sit here, and every time it looks like it's calming down, I'm throwing fuel on the fire.
Oh, I don't know if we want that.
I want it.
A little bit of backstory. I know this person.
She wants to know, Brandon, how's your dog?
Which one? The one that's quiet and laying over
Frank.
there, or the loud rat?
Frank.
Okay. Frank's good. He's a good boy. Yeah, he's over there on his. You can't really see him, but he's laying over there on his doggy bed. He's good to go.
All right, Pop says, I don't think TDA gets any credit for the defensive plays he makes.
That's true.
Yes. Well, I thought he got credit toward the end. I thought a lot of people were kind of giving him the props. Oh, look who just commented.
Yes, there he is.
He's been here all along.
Oh, he's been watching. He's trying to shut down your server. He's going to shut down your stream.
Wait, why did my screen just go black?
Uh-oh, here it goes. But yeah, I think Tony got some credit toward the end of the year. Maybe not all year, but I thought like toward the end, in that Ranger series, I thought a lot of people were saying better things about him.
Him being with Orlov earlier in the season was a disservice to both of them. That's just If we lived in an alternate reality where Jalen Chatfield shot left-handed, Orlov probably never even gets signed.
Yeah, that's true.
Sam says, I'm going to buy y'all and shut it down. Oh, he's pulling on Washington Capitals. I see how it is.
Oh, gosh.
Bro, you can't afford me.
Yeah, you can't afford me either. LOL, Sam.
Oh, all right.
I'm going to make a
Sam,
special
I love
thumbnail
those
and everything.
Android emojis.
I thought he had an iPhone
All right,
now.
guys. Well,
No, he doesn't. I don't think he does, maybe.
Yeah, he
I think
does because everybody in the group chat has blue bubbles.
Oh, that's right. He got rid of his little flip phone thing.
We bullied him into doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's
AB,
right.
where you been, man? That was like 3 months ago.
I forget things pretty quick.
Bro, that's
Yeah,
been,
you do.
Quite honest. I mean, I
that's
forget
been
to
a while.
respond. I forget.
And we know you haven't.
Well, yeah, like it just didn't cross my mind because the first time I ever met him, we went to a practice and he had the Razor like flip phone. I said, "What is that?"
That was before your time. I had one of those when I was like 13.
No, my parents had one, but this one is like the new like Razor that was like
I forgot about that.
I could hardly afford you, Matt.
Oh.
Yes, Matt is a very expensive man. A very expensive taste.
Hey, it is what it is. My wife would disagree.
Well, I think all women disagree.
Anyway. All right, guys. I think that was I think we covered it all. I think that was good. Any last thoughts? Anything you want to air out before we get out of here?
And yes, Bridget, the rat is fine as well. He's actually being quiet today. I don't know what he was barking at, but man, he wasn't happy about something.
That appearance in, I think, one of the live streams where he just like poked his head in your girlfriend.
Oh, we weren't doing the streams yet. We were doing audio only when my girlfriend opened the door.
Yeah, that's right. And he put it in.
Oh,
And
I
I was
remember that.
Yeah, he's a good dog, but there's just times where he just decides to bark at thin air. I'm like, bro, nothing is wrong. He won't bark if there's actually something going on outside. He goes and hides.
All right, AB. Take us out, buddy.
Thank you so much for listening to Session 46 live stream and audio. If you haven't already, please follow us on X, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Caniac Sessions. On YouTube, leave a comment, like. Well, I already said subscribe. Just saying it again. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss when we put out a video. You can follow us on all streaming platforms, wherever you get your podcasts, at Caniac Sessions. Brandon from The Warning Take, you can find him on Twitter at The Warning Take and on YouTube at The Warning Take. Subscribe, follow, notification bell, like, comment, do the same thing that I told you to do for Caniac Sessions. If you want to keep up with me, you can follow me on X at AB Caniac Session. And if you want to keep up with Griff, there you go. You could follow him on X at M_Griff10. Thank you so much for listening and watching Session 46. And we will see you in Session 47.
Bye.